sent out to shareholders of the Adani Group, specifically to Adani Green, I believe. I'm going to try and pull up the details as we're speaking about it, but some of the data that comes through, or some of the information that comes through, this is a message by the chairperson, Gautam Adani. What was meant to weaken us has instead strengthened the group. And this is in response, of course, to the Hindenburg Report from 2023. January 2023 was when it came through. And as you probably are aware at this point, the clean chit came from the regulator after a very detailed investigation. Of course, that in itself followed a Supreme Court verdict in the issue. A specific investigating team had been put together to look at the allegations that had been made by the short seller Hindenburg, and everything that has happened after that culminates in the clean chit that was given to the group last week. In fact, some of the other statements that are being made, the gross block has expanded by nearly 2 lakh crore, a 48% increase. And he's specifically speaking about this company. It delivered transformative projects that have reshaped India's infrastructure landscape. And ultimately, that is what the group is involved in. You're talking about right now the letter to shareholders of Adani Green. And so therefore, the chairperson is talking about the Khavda project, where the plan is to take solar capacity all the way up to 30 gigawatts, which is a very massive amount of solar electricity generation capacity. The report, he says, was not merely a critique of the Adani Group, but also an attack on the capital markets here in India. And this is something that has required Adani Group to buckle down, reduce the amount of debt that is had on its books and strengthen its financials. He says last week SEBI delivered a resounding and unequivocal response on that Hindenburg issue. With a clear and final word from SEBI, the truth has prevailed in this entire saga that has gone on for 2.5 years. What was meant to weaken the group has instead strengthened the group in terms of the financial performance as well. This is something that I was alluding to. Over the course of the last couple of years, the amount of debt on the books has been reduced on the balance sheets of various group companies. And remember, these are infrastructure companies. They require debt to function. At the same time, you've actually had significant cash generation. And there you go. The portfolio EBITDA has actually risen from 57,000 crore odd in FY23 to as much as 89,000 crore rupees in just a couple of financial years. This is a very significant statement, right? So some of these data points, of course, you will be aware of because you've probably followed these companies, but it's important to sometimes stop and take stock of what has been achieved in a very small time frame. The absolute growth in portfolio EBITDA standing at 57% in the span of just 2 years. And of course, quite a few of these stocks reacted quite sharply after that development from the Security and Exchange Board of India, where you had, for example, an Adani Green that was up about 12, 13, 15%. You had Adani Total Gas, which a lot of analysts have pointed out was trading at a steep discount to what the valuation should have suggested, and it has recovered quite substantially from those levels. At one point, it was up 20%. I believe it was at the upper circuit. Adani Green also one of the counters that did particularly well. And of course, don't forget Adani Enterprises, where it's been viewed as the incubator of the group. Adani Airports Holdings is one of the entities that falls under the ambit of Adani Enterprises. And you probably know, just another 5 days away, the opening of the Navi Mumbai International Airport. Apart from that, you have 8 airports that the group controls, and that it also includes, of course, the current international airport, MIAL, in Mumbai. And what is interesting to note is the plans on that front as well, where you're going to have city-side development that takes place. Of course, the conversation at this point is about Adani Green and the statements that the Adani Group Chairman has made. I'm going to read through some of these things. Indian markets awoke to headlines that reverberated beyond Dalal Street on the 24th of January. That is the reference to the Hindenburg attack that took place. The report was not merely a critique of the Adani Group. it was also a direct challenge to the audacity of Indian companies to dream on the global stage. Because, as you know, at that point, the group was looking overseas to expand in significant geographies. The report marked the beginning of a test that pushed every dimension of the group's resilience. This is all from the statement that Mr. Gautam Adani has sent to shareholders of Adani Green. Last week, the Securities and Exchange Board of India delivered a resounding and unequivocal verdict dismissing allegations against the group. With SEBI's clear and final word, truth has prevailed. What was meant to weaken the group has instead strengthened the very core of the foundations. This moment is more than regulatory clearance. It is a powerful validation of transparency. It is the truest evidence of the resilience in the group. And he says that the resilience lies not in words, but in performance over this period. And he's specifically speaking about the portfolio EBITDA. That's something that I referred to. It's moved from 57,200 crore rupees in FY23 in just 2 years to 89,800 crore rupees, that absolute EBITDA growth standing at 57%. The 2-year compounded annual growth rate at 25%. The gross block, as I mentioned earlier, has expanded from 4.12 lakh crore rupees in FY23 to 6.1 lakh crore rupees in FY25. Rajesh, if you're still with us, I have a question for you about this. And of course, we saw the reaction in the stock prices just last week. What do you make of the statement? This is, of course, highlighting the tremendous growth in the EBITDA that the group has managed, along with or alongside the deleveraging strategy that it has employed. And quite a bit of the expansion plans now are expected to be fueled by the cash generation that the companies have achieved.
I totally concur with your views, Alex. And, the statement by Mr. Adani is very comforting, not only to the entire market as such, but also to the small shareholders who do not have access to much of a data or much of a story. They just go on running through the, all the negative news and all. So it's better for them. And as far as the debt levels are concerned, which has been mentioned, I think with the kind of infrastructure growth this company has been witnessing, be it ports, be it renewable energy, be it gas, be it power. So these kind of infrastructure do have to take some amount of debt, otherwise this is not possible. So only measuring some company on the huge debt, I don't think that's the right way to do. This would be a very comforting statement. And yes, the the group has been growing very well. And out of the entire pack, we have some of our picks like Adani Enterprise, Adani Power, and Adani Green at this point of time, which we would recommend our investors to buy for a medium to long-term horizon.
Okay. I'm bringing Hiral into this conversation as well, and Neeraj will join us in just a bit. In fact, he has. Guys, so this is ultimately a statement to the shareholders that have, along with the group, stood the test of time, right? Because particularly for those investors that got in, rode that rally up to the 2023 January period, and it was a tremendous rally. And if they held faith or doubled down at that point, this is a statement to those investors.
Yeah, but well, Alex, you could argue that it is, but I'm sure nobody would fault the investors' behavior. It was a very difficult time,
yes.
And therefore investors took the action at that point of time, which they believe was in the best interest of their portfolios. Certainly. Right? Simple, as we've discussed in the past as well. But I think in some sense this is to my mind, this is now serving as the ideal template for what will happen to large Indian dreams wanting to go on a global scale and possibly facing actions. The template is set. The characters will differ. The attacks will come from multiple other quarters. But now people will know that it's better to analyze things in proper detail as opposed to go on rumor of some entity somewhere in some nook and corner of the world and doubt established Indian corporates with a history of multiple decades. I think that is the template that is getting set.
Exactly.